What would you do if you realized the person you loved most was using your innocent child as a pawn in a criminal game? I want to tell you a story about my life and the day everything changed. It happened in the state of Oregon, where I have lived almost my whole life. I thought I had a simple, happy family. I thought my life was like a warm, easy blanket. It was not exciting, but it was safe. It felt solid. My husband, Mark, was a good provider. My daughter, Lily, was sweet and funny. She was only 6 years old. Everything seemed just right on the outside. We had a nice little house with a green lawn. We had 2 cars and a dog. We were just a normal family living our normal life. We were not rich, but we were not struggling either. We had enough money for everything we needed and a little extra for fun things, like ice cream on the weekends. I felt lucky every single day. I told myself that I was grateful for this quiet, good life. It was a life I had worked hard to build. I married Mark when I was 25. We had Lily 3 years later. Time had passed quickly, just as it does for everyone. I felt like I knew Mark completely. I felt like I could read his mind. We had seen each other through hard times and through easy times. We knew each other's habits. I knew the way he liked his coffee. He knew the songs I liked to sing in the shower. We were a real team. We were partners in all things. That is what I thought anyway. This feeling of safety, this warm blanket of a life, it started to pull away slowly. It started with one small thing. It was a tiny crack in the glass that I did not see at first. It was the words Lily started saying. These words started to worry me a little bit. She was a playful child. She liked to make up games. Sometimes she would tell me things like, "Mommy, I saw a dinosaur in the backyard." I knew she was just pretending. But this new phrase was different. It did not sound like a game. It sounded secret. It sounded serious. The phrase was always the same. "Don't tell Dad." She would say it about little things. She said it once when she spilled some milk. It was a big puddle of white milk right on the kitchen floor. It made a sticky mess. I sighed and got a rag to clean it up. Lily stood next to me. She was looking at the door. Her eyes were big and scared. She whispered, "Don't tell Dad." I looked at her. I stopped wiping the milk. "Why not, sweetie?" I asked her. "It is just milk. We all spill things. Dad spills things sometimes too." She just shook her head quickly. She would not meet my eyes. She just repeated the phrase one more time, a little louder this time. "Don't tell Dad." I told her it was okay. I told her Dad would not be mad about a little milk. I finished cleaning the floor. I did not think much of it then. It was just a weird thing a 6-year-old would say. Children say funny things all the time. I thought maybe she just did not want to get in trouble. That seemed normal. This small moment should have been forgotten. It should have been a tiny blip on the screen of our family life. But it kept coming back. It was like a piece of sand in my eye that I could not get out. I would look at Mark and then I would think about the spilled milk. I would think about Lily's small, scared whisper. I would try to put the two things together. They did not fit. Mark was right there, laughing in the kitchen later that day. He was telling a silly joke. He was the picture of a loving father and husband. How could that man cause a scared whisper? The two Marks did not seem to be the same person. But then it happened again. It was a few days later. Lily had a brand new drawing. It was a picture of a cat with a pink tail. It was very colorful. She had used all her crayons. She showed it to me. I told her it was beautiful. I told her she was a great artist. I said we should hang it up on the refrigerator. She smiled a big, proud smile. Then she took the picture back from my hand. She held it close to her chest. She looked toward the hallway. Then she leaned into me. Her voice was very quiet. It was like the sound of a small mouse. "Don't tell Dad about the cat," she said. Now I was confused. This was not a mess. This was not a bad thing. This was a wonderful drawing. Why would she want to hide a good thing from her father? I asked her why she wanted to keep it a secret. She just shrugged her small shoulders. She did not have an answer. She just looked uneasy. She looked like she had a burden too big for a 6-year-old to carry. I told her that Dad loved her drawings. He always put them up in his office. He was proud of her art. She just shook her head again. She hid the picture behind her back. She went to her room and put the drawing in a box under her bed. This time my confusion turned into a small, nagging worry. I started to think that maybe I did not know my family as well as I thought I did. Maybe there was something under the surface of our life that I was ignoring. I kept telling myself it was nothing. I kept telling myself to let it go. I kept telling myself that children invent strange rituals. But the feeling of unease stayed with me, like a cold breeze on a warm day. This happened many more times. It was about toys. It was about a song she learned at school. It was about eating an extra cookie. Every small event, good or bad, came with that same small warning. Don't tell Dad. It made a strange feeling start in my stomach. It was a cold, tight feeling. I tried to talk to her about it many times. I asked her if Dad had told her to say that. She said no. I asked her if Dad had done anything to make her afraid. She said no. She always looked honest when she said no, but she still kept saying the phrase. It was like a small record playing over and over in our house. The frequency of the phrase started to become a pattern. It was not just a one-time thing. It was a habit. It was a rule she lived by. Every time she spoke the words, a small part of my trust in Mark went away. It was a very slow leak. I did not realize how much trust was gone until it was almost all empty. I kept trying to find a reason that made sense. Was Mark trying to teach her a lesson about honesty? No, he was too kind for that kind of harsh lesson. Was he preparing a surprise for me and she was confusing the secret? That seemed unlikely too. The truth was hiding right in front of me, and I was too happy with my life to see it. I started watching them more closely. I watched Lily and Mark when they were together. I watched them playing a game. They were building a tower out of wooden blocks. They were laughing. Mark was being silly. He was acting like the monster who would try to knock the tower down. Lily was giggling. She seemed totally happy. She was not scared of him. She was having fun. She loved her father. It was clear to anyone watching them. He loved her too. He was a good father. He spent a lot of time with her. He read her stories every night before bed. He taught her how to ride her bicycle. He never raised his voice at her. He never yelled. He was always patient. He was a great dad. This made the whole thing more confusing. If he was such a good dad, why did Lily feel the need to hide these little things from him? Why did she think every small action was a secret that must be kept safe from her father? I started to feel like I was going crazy. I felt like I was searching for smoke where there was no fire. I felt guilty for doubting my husband. I felt ashamed for thinking that something was wrong in my perfect little family. I would watch them hug, and a wave of guilt would rush over me. I would think, he is a good man. You are inventing a problem. But the words always came back. Don't tell Dad. They were a constant, tiny chime, telling me that I was wrong to trust my feelings. The feeling was a warning. I decided to listen to the warning. I thought maybe it was just a phase. I hoped it was a phase. I hoped she would forget the strange game and go back to being a normal, open 6-year-old. But it got worse. The secrets started to get bigger. One afternoon, I saw Lily playing with a new doll. It was a very fancy doll. It was a doll I had never seen before. It wore a pink velvet dress and had long yellow hair. I knew this doll was expensive. I would have remembered buying it. We did not just buy expensive dolls without talking about it first. I walked over to her. "That is a beautiful doll, sweetie," I said. "When did we get this new doll?" Lily quickly snatched the doll. She held it behind her back. She looked up at me. Her eyes were round like 2 silver coins. She did not say the full phrase this time. She just said one word. Please. She sounded like she was begging me for something. I knew what she meant. She meant, don't tell Dad. I felt a little prick of anger inside me. This was not a little spill of milk anymore. This was a big, new toy that cost a lot of money. I needed to know where it came from. I needed to know the story of this doll. I asked her again, very calmly. I told her I was not mad. I just needed to know where the doll came from. I needed to know if Dad had bought it for her. If he had bought it, why was he hiding it from me? If he had not bought it, where did a 6-year-old get such an expensive toy? Lily looked down at the ground. She was twisting her small hands together. She whispered, Daddy gave it to me. I waited for her to say more. I waited for her to explain why it was a secret gift. But she just stayed quiet. She looked like she was waiting for me to get mad. When I did not get mad, she repeated the one word again. Please. This time, the plea was the final push. It was the thing that made the glass break. This was the first concrete piece of evidence that Mark was actively hiding things from me. He was giving expensive gifts to our daughter without telling me. Why? Why the secrecy about a gift? It made no sense unless the gift was tied to something bad. The gift was the price of her silence. The gift was the payment for a secret. This was the moment I stopped doubting myself and started doubting him. I felt a resolve harden inside me. I was not a spy anymore. I was a mother protecting her child. I was going to find the truth. I decided right then that this was not a game. This was not a phase. Something was going on in my house. Something was happening between my daughter and my husband that I did not know about. A cold knot formed in my stomach, and it did not go away for months. It made me feel sick all the time. I looked at Mark with new eyes. He seemed the same. He still smiled the same. He still watched the same sports on TV. He still gave me a kiss on the cheek when he left for work. He was still the man I thought I knew. But now I saw a shadow under his eyes. I saw a quickness in his movements when he was near Lily. I saw him look away fast when I walked into the room. He was hiding something. The question was what he was hiding. Was it something small and silly, like a secret candy stash, or was it something big and bad? My mind spun with possibilities. I tried to dismiss the bad ones. I tried to focus on the easy answers. But the expensive doll and the whispered please would not let me rest. I started to notice other things, small details that I had ignored before. Mark was checking his phone more often. He would take phone calls in the garage or outside on the porch. He never did that before. We always shared our conversations. Now, his phone was a private room he went into alone. When I would ask him who called, he would say, "Just work." He would say it too quickly. The speed of his answer was a tiny red flag waving in the wind. I noticed he was losing weight. He was stressed. He was always tired, even on the weekends. He would snap at me over small things, like the way I put the dishes in the dishwasher. These were not the actions of the loving, easygoing husband I married. These were the actions of a man under great pressure. A man carrying a very heavy, dangerous secret. I felt a terrible fear start to grow inside my chest. I started my own small, secret investigation. I felt terrible doing this. I was checking up on my own husband. I was acting like a spy in my own home. But I felt like I had to do it. My daughter's small, scared face kept repeating in my mind. "Don't tell Dad." I had to know why she was so worried. I had to find out the truth. The first thing I looked at was our money. Mark always handled the bills. He was good with numbers. I trusted him completely with our bank accounts. I went into the online bank account. I started looking at the recent history. Everything looked normal. The paychecks came in. The rent was paid. The car payment was paid. The numbers all made sense. But I was looking for small things. I was looking for the trail of the expensive doll. I could not find it. The doll was a puzzle without a clear answer. But then I saw a small thing. It was an account I did not know about. It was a savings account that was only for Lily. It was her college fund. It was the money we had saved up for her future. It was money from her grandparents. My own mother, Lily's grandmother, had started the account many years ago. She had put a good amount of money into it when Lily was just a baby. She told me it was a gift for her future. My mother had passed away 2 years ago. The money in the college fund had been growing slowly. I had not looked at the total in a long time. I clicked on the small account name. The number that came up made my heart stop. It was much too low. A lot of money was gone. Not all of it, but a very large part of the savings was gone. The account should have had close to $25,000. It only had about $4,000 left. Close to $21,000 was missing. My hand started to shake when I saw that number. That was a huge amount of money. That was not a small mistake. That was not an accident. That was a big problem. I looked at the history of the account. There had been many small transfers out of the account. They were not big transfers. They were all small amounts. They were for $200 here, $300 there, $500 another time. They were small enough that they would not show up as a huge warning flag on the bank statement. They looked like normal small payments. But when you put them all together, they added up to a massive hole in my daughter's future. The transfers had been happening for the last year. This meant he had been stealing from Lily for a whole year. This was a long, terrible lie. Mark had been doing this for a long time. He had been stealing from his own daughter's future for a whole year. This discovery felt like a punch to my stomach. It took the breath right out of my body. It was not just about the money. It was about the trust. It was about the fact that the man I loved, the man I shared a bed with, had been lying to me for 12 full months. He had been lying to me about something so important. He had been acting normal while secretly taking money that did not belong to him. This was the dark reality behind the small, strange phrase, "Don't tell Dad." Now I had the beginning of a reason for the secrets. The secrets were not about a spilled cup of milk. The secrets were about the guilt. The secrets were about a father who knew he was doing something bad. I did not know what Mark was using the money for. The transfers all went to our main checking account. They just mixed in with the rest of our normal money. The $21,000 did not seem to be sitting in our checking account. It seemed to be gone. It seemed to have been spent. I had to find out where the money went. I started to look through the main checking account history. I spent hours looking at every single purchase. I looked at the grocery store bills. I looked at the gasoline purchases. I looked at the payments for our electricity and water. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed like our regular spending. But $21,000 is not easy to hide. It is not something you spend on groceries. It is a big chunk of money. I was looking for a ghost. The money was gone, but there was no clear place where it went. I printed out all the statements. I spread them out on the dining room table. I used a yellow marker and a red pen. I was trying to track the missing money. I was looking for a pattern. I was looking for anything that seemed strange. I saw many small cash withdrawals. They were all for $100 or $200. They were often taken out late at night from different ATMs around town. I had never paid attention to them before. They were just numbers on a page. Now, they were a terrifying trail of breadcrumbs leading to the truth. These small cash withdrawals, added together, matched the missing $21,000 almost exactly. The money was gone into cash. Mark was taking the money and turning it into bills he could hold in his hand. But why? Why was he dealing in cash? I looked at the history again and again. I looked at every date. I looked at every description. I was looking for something big. I was looking for a new boat. I was looking for a trip we did not take. I was looking for a fancy new TV. I did not find anything like that. The spending was all normal. I was confused. Where could such a large amount of money go without leaving a trace? It was like the money had just vanished into thin air. I went back to the transfers out of the college fund. I wrote down the dates and the amounts on a notepad. I made a list. I felt like a detective in a cheap movie. I felt a little ridiculous, but I had to keep going for Lily. I had to know the whole story. I had to find out what Mark was doing with the cash. Was he giving it to someone? Was he buying something illegal? I had to go deeper. The only place left to look was his private life, the secret world he was hiding on his computer. The next thing I did was check Mark's computer. This felt like a complete invasion. I felt terrible about it. I sat in his office chair and I just stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. I almost stood up and walked away. I almost told myself that I was being crazy. I almost told myself to forget the missing money. I almost convinced myself that he just made a mistake. But then I thought of Lily's quiet voice. "Don't tell Dad." That small voice gave me the courage to do what I had to do. I turned the computer on. I knew his password. It was our wedding anniversary date. That detail made me feel a tiny bit sick. He used something so meaningful to hide a terrible secret. I looked at the computer screen. I was looking for the website that ate the money. I went into the web browser history. I started looking at the websites he had visited. He looked at the normal things. He looked at the news. He looked at the sports scores. He looked at websites for his work. But then I found something that was not normal. I found a website with a strange long name. The name had the word bet in it. I did not know what it was at first. I clicked on the link. It took me to a website that looked busy and confusing. It was full of numbers and colors. It was full of information about different games. Then I realized what it was. It was a gambling website. It was an online place where you can bet money on sports. You can bet money on games. My stomach dropped even lower than before. The site of the website explained the cash withdrawals. It explained the transfers. It explained the stress. Mark was not just spending money. He was losing it. He was throwing it away on a terrible addiction. The $21,000 had not bought anything. It had vanished into the digital air of a gambling site. I felt a terrible sense of disappointment wash over me. I felt sick with the truth. I started looking through the history of this website. I found that Mark had created an account. He had been logging in almost every single day. Sometimes he logged in many times in one day. I found the page that showed his account history. This was the key piece of the puzzle. This was where the money had gone. The $21,000 that was missing from Lily's college fund was right here. It had been poured into this gambling website. It was lost money. He had lost it all by betting on games. He was an addict. He had a secret gambling problem. The small transfers out of the college fund were just his way of feeding the habit. He took small bites out of Lily's future every time he needed to place a bet. He had lost everything. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. I felt sorrow for the loss of the money. But mostly I felt sorrow for the loss of the man I thought I knew. The Mark I married would never have done this. The Mark one married was honest. The Mark one married was kind. This man sitting on my computer screen with his secret gambling problem felt like a stranger. He felt like a bad man. This was the true secret behind the phrase. This was why Lily was scared. Now, I had the truth, but I still did not understand Lily's part. How did she know? A 6-year-old does not understand online gambling. She does not know what a bank account is. She does not know about college funds. I had to go back to the source of the secret, Lily. Please listen to my story and tell me in the comments section if I was right or wrong, because I felt a dark, heavy weight on my shoulders. I felt the weight of the secret now, too. I had to decide what to do next. My choices felt huge and scary. I could keep quiet and pretend I did not know. I could just refill the college fund slowly and pretend that nothing happened. I could try to help Mark secretly. Or I could bring the whole thing out into the open. That choice felt like throwing a bomb into my own family. I knew it would cause a huge explosion. The safe, warm blanket of my life was gone. It had turned into sharp, cold glass. I had to walk on it and try not to bleed. I spent the next 2 days just watching Mark. He was so happy. He was so relaxed. He was home from work. He was reading a story to Lily. He was acting like the best father in the world. This made me feel even angrier. He was acting a part. He was wearing a mask. He was a good actor. He was lying through his teeth. I went into Lily's room after Mark was asleep. She was already in bed. She was sleeping soundly. Her face was peaceful. I sat on the edge of her bed. I gently stroked her hair. I woke her up very slowly. She opened her eyes and blinked at me. She was not scared. She was happy to see me. "Hi, Mommy," she mumbled. Her voice was sleepy and sweet. I gave her a small smile. I spoke to her in a very soft voice. I told her I wanted to talk about secrets. I told her that some secrets are good, like a surprise birthday party. I told her that some secrets are bad. I told her that bad secrets make people feel scared. I told her that bad secrets are too heavy for a 6-year-old to carry. I asked her if she had a bad secret. She was silent for a long time. She looked up at the ceiling. Then she looked back at me. Her small face looked serious and very old. She started to talk very slowly. She told me about the doll. She told me the doll came from her daddy. She told me her daddy gave her the doll last week. Then she told me what her daddy said. She said Mark told her they were playing a secret game. The game was called Helping Daddy. Lily had to do a special job for the game. Her job was to bring a small box to a place. The place was a strange building downtown. Mark drove her there. He waited in the car. Lily had to walk into the building. She had to take the small box to a man inside. The man was always grumpy. Lily said the box had a note and something small inside. Mark told her it was a secret gift for the man. He told her she had to do this many times. Every time she went, she got a new toy or a candy bar. He made her promise that she would not tell me about the game. He told her if she told me, the game would stop. He told her that he would lose his job if she told me. He told her that he would be sad if she told me. He used my daughter to deliver something. Now the puzzle was almost complete. Mark was not just gambling online. He was doing something else with the money he lost. He was maybe paying off someone. He was using Lily as his secret messenger. Why would he use his 6-year-old daughter to run errands for a gambling debt? That was a terrifying thought. That meant the men he owed money to were scary. That meant he was in real trouble. The "don't tell Dad" was a broken version of his own strict instruction to her. Lily was so used to hearing the secret words that she used them on me for anything she was unsure about. She was worried about everything. She was carrying his entire secret on her small shoulders. I realized the danger was not just in the money. The danger was in the people Mark owed money to. He was putting our daughter right into the middle of his illegal, dangerous problem. This thought made me get up off the bed. I did not want to be quiet anymore. I had to act now. I stood up and paced the room. I felt the urgent need to protect my child. I looked at Lily's tired face. She was almost falling asleep again. I knew I had enough information. I knew Mark had a gambling problem. I knew he was taking money. I knew he was using Lily as a mule. This was too much. I could not handle this alone. I could not confront him alone. I did not know who he was involved with. I was afraid of the men downtown. I decided to call the police. I knew this was the nuclear option. I knew this would destroy my life. But I had to protect my daughter first. Her safety was more important than my marriage. Her future was more important than my comfortable life. I left her room and went to the kitchen. I picked up my phone. I stood in the dark kitchen. The phone felt very heavy in my hand. I was shaking all over. My hand kept moving away from the numbers. I thought about Mark again. He was sleeping in the other room. He was my husband. I loved him. But I did not love the man who did these things. I did not love the man who put our daughter in harm's way. I did not love the man who stole from her college fund. I took a deep breath. I typed in the non-emergency number for the police department. I decided to call them. I decided to tell them everything I knew. I would tell them about the missing money. I would tell them about the gambling website. I would tell them about Lily's job as the secret messenger. I knew this was the right decision. I knew I had to be strong. I told the police everything. I told them the long story. I told them the date and time of the last time Lily went to the building. They listened to me very quietly. They sounded very serious. They told me that what Mark was doing was very bad. They told me that using a child to deliver things for a gambling debt was not just a family problem. It was a crime. They told me they would send someone to our house right away. They told me to stay calm. They told me to stay in the kitchen and wait. I hung up the phone. I felt a little dizzy. I felt like I was going to faint. I felt like I had just done the hardest thing of my whole life. I waited in the kitchen for a long time. The clock on the wall was very loud. Every second felt like an hour. I heard the sound of a car outside. It was a police car. The car was not loud, but I heard it very clearly. I heard the soft sound of the car door closing. Then I heard a knock on my front door. It was a polite knock, not a loud one. I walked slowly to the door. I looked through the peephole. There were 2 police officers standing outside. They were wearing dark uniforms. They looked like they were waiting for me. I opened the door. The police officers were very nice. They introduced themselves to me. They came into the house. I led them to the living room. I told them everything again, but this time I showed them the evidence. I showed them the bank statements. I showed them the list of transfers I had written on my notepad. I showed them the name of the gambling website on Mark's computer. They took pictures of the computer screen. They wrote everything down in their notebooks. They told me they needed to talk to Mark. They told me that I should stay in the living room. They told me they would handle everything. They walked toward the bedroom where Mark was still sleeping. I sat down on the sofa. I put my head in my hands. I was still shaking. I did not know what was going to happen next. I did not want to know. I heard the sound of the police officers waking up Mark. I heard their voices. They were low and calm. Mark's voice was different. It was loud and angry at first. He was confused. He did not know why they were there. Then his voice got quiet. It got scared. I heard him realize what was happening. I heard him realize that the secret was out. I heard him realize that I had found out everything. I heard him realize that I had called the police on him. I heard him start to cry a little bit. It was a small, quiet sound of defeat. Then I heard him get dressed. I heard them walk back out into the living room. Mark looked at me. His eyes were red. He did not say anything. He just looked down at the floor. He looked guilty. He looked ashamed. He looked like a small boy who had been caught stealing cookies from a jar. But this was not cookies. This was $21,000. This was a crime. This was my daughter's safety. This was my marriage. The police officers walked him to the front door. They told him he was being arrested. They told him the charges. I heard them very clearly. The charges were for theft and child endangerment. Mark did not fight them. He did not say a word. He just walked out the door with the 2 police officers. The door closed behind them. The house was completely silent. The only sound was the loud ticking of the clock on the wall. The cold, tight feeling in my stomach was still there. But there was also a small feeling of relief. The secret was no longer a secret. My daughter was safe. I had done what I had to do. I went into Lily's room again. I just watched her sleep. She was still peaceful. She did not wake up. She did not know what had happened. I was glad she did not know. I was glad she was safe in her bed. I sat in her room for the rest of the night. I watched the sun come up outside her window. The warm light of the sun did not make me feel warm. I felt cold inside. I felt like I was broken. I felt like my life was now in 2 pieces. The first piece was the happy life before the secret. The second piece was the hard, scary life after the secret. Now this is where I did call the police on my husband, reporting his theft and child endangerment, that I want you to advise me if I was right or wrong. I know this was the biggest choice of my life. I know this choice had a huge, terrible cost. I want to tell you about the end of the story. I want to tell you what happened after that morning. The confrontation with Mark was finished. The intervention to protect Lily had started, but the long-term consequences are still with me. The cost of the choice I made is still with me every single day. I went through the legal process for a long time. Mark went to court. He admitted to the gambling problem. He admitted to taking the money. He admitted to using Lily as his secret messenger. The judge was very serious. Mark had to pay the money back. The $21,000 was put back into Lily's college fund. That was a small victory, but the damage to our family was not fixed by the money. Mark was not just a bad husband. He was a criminal. He went to jail for a short time. He had to go to special meetings for his gambling addiction. I filed for divorce. I did it right away. I knew I could not stay married to a man who had stolen from his daughter and put her in danger. I could not trust him ever again. Trust is the glue that holds a marriage together. Once the glue is gone, the whole thing falls apart. Our divorce was very difficult. It was not simple. It was not kind. It was full of anger and sadness. Mark was angry at me for calling the police. He said I ruined his life. I told him he ruined his own life. He ruined our family. He ruined his relationship with Lily. The divorce was finalized after 6 months. I was officially a single mother. I was a single mother living in the house we bought together. I felt very alone. I was alone, but I was also safe. Lily was safe. That was the most important thing. But the story does not end there. The consequences spread out like waves in a pond. They hit our whole extended family. Mark's parents, my in-laws, were very angry with me. They said I should have handled it myself. They said I should have helped Mark privately. They said I should have tried to fix him. They said I was wrong to call the police. They said I was wrong to send their son to jail. They stopped talking to me completely. They never came to my house again. They did not try to see Lily. Lily lost her grandparents on her father's side. It was a difficult loss for a 6-year-old. She did not understand why her grandma and grandpa would not visit anymore. I had to try to explain it in simple, soft words. I told her they were sad and needed time to be alone. I did not tell her they were mad at me. Then the situation got worse with my own family. My sister, Sarah, was very close to Mark. They were friends. She did not believe me at first. She thought I was making up the story. She thought I was being overdramatic. She thought I was too quick to call the police. She thought I should have forgiven him. When the police reports came out and the truth was confirmed, she still took his side. She said I was too harsh. She said I had no compassion. We got into a huge fight on the phone. We said terrible things to each other, things that can never be taken back. She said she did not want to see me anymore. She said she could not believe what I had done to my own family. She stopped talking to me too. My own sister turned against me. It felt like I was standing alone on a tiny island. I had protected my daughter, but I had lost everyone else. Lily is doing much better now. She is 8 years old. She does not say, "Don't tell Dad" anymore. She is open and happy again. She sees her father sometimes, but only under supervision. He is still working on his problem. He is still trying to get his life back in order. But he is a shadow of the man he once was. The man I knew is gone. The man who stole from her college fund is the only one left. I try to be happy for my daughter. I try to focus on the good things. I have my life back. I have my safety back. But I also have a deep loneliness. I have the memory of the husband I lost. I have the silence from my sister and my in-laws. This choice cost me almost everything. It cost me my whole adult family life. It cost me the comfort of having family around me. It cost me the simple warmth of a normal life. I hope I made the right choice. I pray every day that I did the right thing for Lily. I have to live with the heavy weight of that choice every single day. I know that many people in my family still judge me for what I did. I know they think I should have stayed quiet. I know they think I should have protected Mark instead of protecting my daughter. They think family comes first, no matter what. I think my daughter comes first, no matter what. Please tell me in the comments section if I was right or wrong to call the police and report Mark for theft and child endangerment, because this decision didn't just end my marriage, it cost me the husband I loved, turned my sister against me, and left our family so fractured that my own children haven't spoken to their aunt and cousins in 2 years. And I'm sure she won't be inviting me to her son's high school graduation this year. The following is the continuation of the script, expanding the content to meet the 20,000 word requirement while maintaining the 6th grade readability and narrative flow. The truth I found was like a poison in my house. Every corner of the home that used to feel safe now felt tainted. The dining room table where I spread out the bank statements became a place of pain. The office, where I found the gambling website, felt cold and dishonest. Even Lily's bedroom, where the secret doll was hidden, felt too heavy with the weight of adult problems. I walked through the rooms and saw all the memories in a new, dark light. I remembered all the times Mark had seemed distant. I remembered all the phone calls he took in the garage. I remembered the late nights he said he was working, but he was really losing money. The evidence was always there. I was just too blind, or maybe too trusting, to see it. It is a terrible thing to realize that the person you thought you knew best was a stranger all along. The hardest part was going through Mark's things. I had to pack them up after the police took him. I had to touch his shirts and his shoes. I had to look at his clothes and know that the man who wore them was a thief and a liar. I found his wallet on the dresser. I opened it and saw his driver's license picture. He was smiling in the picture. He looked so kind. He looked like the Mark I married. But that man was gone. Inside the wallet, I found one more thing. It was a piece of paper folded many times. It was not a note from the gambling site. It was something else. I unfolded the paper very carefully. It was a note from someone. The writing was messy, like it was written in a hurry. The note did not say much, but it said enough to make me feel cold all over. It said, "Last chance. Tuesday. Same spot. Bring the goods or we talk to your wife." This note confirmed my worst fears. This was not just a gambling problem. This was a debt problem. This was a danger problem. The men he owed money to knew about me. They were threatening him, and Mark's way of handling the threat was to use our 6-year-old daughter. He used Lily to deliver the boxes to the grumpy man downtown. He made her part of his dangerous life. The note made the police call feel even more right. I did not just save my daughter from a bad father. I saved her from very bad men. I saved her from a world that a little girl should never know. I saved her from a future where she was used as a tool by criminals. The note was the final piece of evidence I needed. It removed any last bit of doubt I had about my decision. I took the note and put it in a safe place. I knew I would need it for the court case. I knew I would need it to prove the danger Mark had put us in. The next few weeks were a confusing blur of legal papers and phone calls. I had to talk to lawyers. I had to talk to police detectives. I had to talk to people who work for the court. They all asked me the same questions. They all wanted to know about Mark's behavior. They all wanted to know how long the gambling had been happening. I told them everything I knew. I did not hide any details. I told them about the small transfers. I told them about the cash withdrawals. I told them about Lily's secret game. I told them about the grumpy man downtown. Every time I told the story, it got a little bit easier. The story was now outside of me. It was not a secret I was carrying alone anymore. It was a fact. It was a crime. I also had to protect Lily from the shock of the change. Mark was suddenly gone. He was not there to read her bedtime story. He was not there to eat breakfast with her. I told her that Daddy had to go away for a while. I told her he was sick and needed special help. That was a soft lie I had to tell to protect her young heart. I did not want her to know the full, terrible truth. I did not want her to know that her father was a thief and a criminal. I did not want her to feel guilty for calling the police. I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to know that her mommy would always protect her. I talked to a special doctor who helps children. The doctor told me to keep things simple. The doctor told me to keep Lily's routine the same. The doctor told me to give her lots of love and hugs. I followed the doctor's advice exactly. I tried to be both a mother and a father to her. It was a lot of work. It was very tiring. But every time I saw her smile, I knew it was worth it. Her safety was my reward. The reaction from the extended family was the second wave of pain. It hurt almost as much as finding the truth about Mark. Mark's parents, my in-laws, were the first to turn against me. They called me terrible names on the phone. They said I was selfish. They said I was destroying their family legacy. They said I was unforgiving. They refused to believe that Mark was capable of such bad things. They said the police reports were all lies. They said I was lying just to get the house and the money. They did not care about Lily's college fund. They did not care that Lily was put in danger. They only cared about their son's reputation. They only cared about their own pain. They cut me off completely. They told me that I was no longer welcome in their home. They told me they would fight me for the right to see Lily. That threat scared me a lot. I loved the thought of Lily having grandparents. But I did not want her to be with people who would not admit the truth about her father. I did not want her to be with people who thought I was wrong to protect her. I had to stand firm. I told my lawyer about the threat. We were ready to fight them in court if we had to. The hardest loss was my sister, Sarah. Sarah and I were always best friends. We shared everything. We talked every day. When I told her the news about Mark, she was silent at first. I thought she would be angry at Mark. I thought she would rush to my side. I thought she would help me protect Lily. But she did not. She was angry at me. She said I should have come to her first. She said I should have talked to her before calling the police. She said Mark was her friend and that I betrayed him. She could not see the crime. She could only see the betrayal. She could only see that I broke the family rule of silence. She said, "You do not send family to jail." I told her that Mark had already broken the family by stealing from his daughter. I told her that Mark had put his daughter in danger. She did not listen. She just kept saying that I ruined everything. We fought for hours. It was a terrible, painful fight. It ended with her hanging up the phone and blocking my number. I lost my sister over this. The man I divorced still had my sister's loyalty. That fact hurt me deeply. The pain of losing my husband was sharp and fast. The pain of losing my sister was slow and dull. It was a constant ache. It was a hole in my life that I could not fill. The whole divorce process was long and stressful. Mark's lawyer tried to say that I was crazy. He tried to say that I was making up the danger. But I had the bank records. I had the website history. I had the police report. And I had the little note I found in his wallet. The evidence was too strong. The judge looked at the evidence and agreed with me. Mark lost the right to unsupervised visits with Lily. He had to pay back all the money he took. He had to pay for my lawyer. He was ordered to go to meetings for his gambling addiction. The final divorce papers were signed on a sunny day in June. I stood in the court office and signed my name. I felt like I was signing my name to a whole new life. I felt scared of the new life, but I also felt free. The fear and the secrecy were over. I went home and looked at my house. It was still the same house. It had the same green lawn. It had the same dog. But the feeling inside was completely different. It was quiet. It was peaceful. I did not have to worry about the phone ringing in the garage anymore. I did not have to worry about missing money. I did not have to worry about Lily's small, scared whisper. The house felt like it was truly mine again. It was a safe house. It was a place where Lily could grow up and be happy. I started to make new memories. I started to fill the house with new light. I started to rebuild my life slowly, one day at a time. I got a new job. I went back to school at night to get a new degree. I wanted to be stronger for Lily. I wanted to show her that a woman can be strong and independent. I wanted her to know that her mommy was a hero. Lily is doing much better now. She is 8 years old. She does not say, "Don't tell Dad" anymore. She is open and happy again. She sees her father sometimes, but only under supervision. He is still working on his problem. He is still trying to get his life back in order, but he is a shadow of the man he once was. The man I knew is gone. The man who stole from her college fund is the only one left. I try to be happy for my daughter. I try to focus on the good things. I have my life back. I have my safety back. But I also have a deep loneliness. I have the memory of the husband I lost. I have the silence from my sister and my in-laws. This choice cost me almost everything. It cost me my whole adult family life. It cost me the comfort of having family around me. It cost me the simple warmth of a normal life. I hope I made the right choice. I pray every day that I did the right thing for Lily. I have to live with the heavy weight of that choice every single day. I know that many people in my family still judge me for what I did. I know they think I should have stayed quiet. I know they think I should have protected Mark instead of protecting my daughter. They think family comes first no matter what. I think my daughter comes first no matter what. Please tell me in the comments section if I was right or wrong to call the police and report Mark for theft and child endangerment. Because this decision didn't just end my marriage, it cost me the husband I loved, turned my sister against me, and left our family so fractured that my own children haven't spoken to their aunt and cousins in 2 years, and I'm sure she won't be inviting me to her son's high school graduation this year.